Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media, all the disinformation and misinformation. We want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening, and as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Welcome to Total Truth Show episode 103. And we have a return guest today that we'll introduce in just a moment. And my co-host, of course, Ken Kleinberg. How are you going from San Diego?
Doing amazing this evening. How about you?
I'm going excellent too. Thank you. And welcome to everyone here on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you are joining us. Welcome. We do love to make these shows interactive. We are chatting about the truth about healthy habits today. Healthy habits. Now, we have an absolute expert with us, someone that we absolutely love here at Total Truth Show. So a little bit about our special guest here today. Now, our expert here, Dr. Scott, he in the 80s, he was actually introduced to acupuncture through martial arts, and he treated himself with acupuncture for injuries and the flu. Then the 90s brought tragedy, and his mother passed from a rare type of cancer called urethra cancer. From diagnosis to death was 6 weeks. The more questions that Dr. Scott asked of the surgeons, the more they ignored him. This tragedy sent him on a quest to find the answers of abundance and longevity of life. In 2003, he enrolled in an acupuncture degree in Brisbane. And in 2008, Dr. Scott was employed in a hospital as a security officer and asked a lot of questions of the hospital staff about the healthcare system and their procedures. He has also become addicted to pain medication, Valium and melatonin medication, and kicked this habit in 2014 with Chinese medicine. He graduated in 2014 in acupuncture and registered with AHPRA, AHPRA, in 2015 as an acupuncturist and practiced part-time. He is a phenomenal guy. There is even more in his bio here. I will continue with just a little bit more here. In 2019, he graduated from a master's degree of Chinese herbal medicine with AHPRA, and now he helps baby boomers with peripheral neuropathy, high blood pressure, and most of the top 8 chronic diseases so they can have an abundant life. Welcome to the show, Dr. Scott.
Thanks very much, Aldwyn, for having me, and Ken as well. Much appreciated for your time, and thanks for having me on. Thanks for the intro too. Someone must have wrote that for you.
Yeah, that's quite an impressive bio there. And you're working with baby boomers now, which is awesome. And your mission is to have a healthy and happy community. Now, we are talking about healthy habits here today. And firstly, let's get to why is it so important to have healthy habits, Scott?
Well, there's good and bad habits, yeah? So if you have bad habits, you're going to have bad outcomes. If you have good habits, you're going to have good outcomes. So it's all the it's the same over and over. So I go by 3 pillars. So making sure that you eat nutritional food, that includes your water. Includes your water. Okay. Moving every day. Now, so that's not. I'm not talking about running marathons every day. I'm talking about low impact exercise and to be consistent with it. That's a very important word, consistency. And number 3 is keeping your mind and your heart quiet. Now that's the hard one.
Yes, especially when we have 60,000 thoughts a day. And for most people, 98% of the same thoughts we had yesterday, and 80% are negative for most people. Now, when you add ADHD to that, I'm sure we're at least doubling the numbers there of the number of thoughts we have a day or a moment, right? And Ken and I both have some ADHD tendencies, apparently, according to, certain experts. However, this is
mine isn't tendency. Mine is actually legit.
Well, a doctor said that I had ADHD a few years ago, so I'm a late diagnosed ADHD, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this. You were early diagnosed, though, weren't you, Ken?
Yeah, and I was actually on Ritalin and all that other stuff. Yeah, so
Right.
yeah, and then I also grew up in a time in an era where the school systems and all that, they didn't know how to handle me. There wasn't enough information out there on ADHD people. So it wasn't just ADD, I was ADHD, so hyperactive, which
Yeah.
is what the Ritalin was for. But yeah, I just remember all throughout the school system, I was shoved in different classrooms. I was shoved in mentally retarded classrooms. I was shoved in handicapped classrooms. I was shoved in all kinds of different spots and places because they didn't know how to deal with me. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So you had it from a very early age, whereas a few years ago, I actually ended up in a relationship, and my very wise boyfriend at the time said, "I think you have ADHD, and if you go on the medication, it'll probably really help you." Because I know a friend that actually had ADHD, and they went on these dexamphetamines, and these actually really helped them, and they were able to really focus and get really productive, and et cetera, et cetera. So then I went and found out I had ADHD, but I didn't take the medication, right? And so now talking about healthy habits here today, I think this is actually very relevant because the doctors will say, take these drugs, right? And obviously, Dr. Scott, you've actually questioned a lot of what the pharmaceutical industry and what the doctors will prescribe. And this is why, Chinese medicine is age-old medicine that has worked for so long, right? So can you share a little bit about when a doctor says, go take this medication, what do you think people should do?
So, okay, medication. So I'll talk about medication first.
Yeah.
So medication is designed to do 2 things. Okay. It's either to mimic something that we already produce. Okay. The pill's a perfect example, right? The contraceptive pill. So it either mimics progesterone that we produce, the hormone that we produce, or estrogen that we produce, right? Same with diabetics. So medication is to mimic insulin. So the other thing that medication does is it inhibits something. Right. Normally it's a hormone. Okay. So beta blockers. So that's for high blood pressure, hypertension. Beta blockers, they block beta cell. See what I'm saying?
So by blocking beta cells, what does that do?
Well, it interferes with the neurological signal to the heart from the brain. And then what that does is it slows down the heart. That's what they're basically trying to do.
They're slowing down the heart.
Yeah.
And what's the long?
But then it doesn't do this.
Right.
Tachycardia. Fast heart rate. So with that said, so this is the difference between Chinese medicine and conventional medicine, is that Chinese medicine helps the body to produce what it isn't producing or is producing too much of. Okay. Whereas conventional medicine either produces more of it exogenously. I hope I got that right. So you're basically taking something externally to mimic something that we already produce, or it inhibits something that we're producing. So you can see that the theory behind the two totally different, right? So one enhances the body to do what it's supposed to. The other one either mimics something that the body produces or stops the body from producing that. Does that make sense?
So interesting. Yeah, it does make sense. It just basically enhances what the body should already be doing.
Well, the problem with replacing something, because that's what they're doing, they're mimicking something that we produce and they're trying to replace it. The problem with that is the body won't produce it anymore.
And so you become reliant on the drugs.
That's what medication is all designed to do.
To become addicted.
Designed, well, not so much addictive, but so that your body doesn't produce that anymore. So then you're reliant on the medication to produce it for you. So then that's the problem is if you're replacing something that one of your organs is producing, then your organs will say, well, I don't need to produce it anymore.
Yeah.
So then you get what? So it's every now and then you'll get these side effects. Why? Because the body says, well, we need to produce that because for whatever reason they didn't take enough of it or the body becomes resilient to it and reduces the dosage of because sometimes the body can, especially our digestive system, can inhibit the ability of the drug. Why? How? But because it'll get rid of it too fast. Get rid of the drug too fast. So what can happen is the drug doesn't stay in your bloodstream long enough. So then the body goes, I need to produce whatever it is you're trying to replace it with. So then you can get side effects. But then also, they're called fillers. They have to make the drug stable. How do they do that? They use fillers. Now, there's different types of fillers, but the problem is those fillers can mess with our digestive system. Number one. So normally, when someone's taking a drug consistently, over time, usually it's their stomach goes first. What's the symptoms? Heartburn, gas, bloating, cramping in the stomach, and pain in the stomach. Eventually, when it gets really bad, they get pain in the stomach. And then from there, then you've got to take something else to cover up those symptoms.
Yes.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
I see exactly where you're going. And I've just spent a lot of time in hospital the last 3 months because Mum was bedridden in there. And I was seeing what they were doing to her. And they're actually, because she was bedridden, they were injecting her with this thing that makes her blood thin so that she doesn't, she doesn't get blood clots. So they were injecting her every single night with this, I think it's called Clexane. They were injecting her with something called Clexane. And and she's also got a lot of heartburn, interestingly. She's on blood thinners as well. She's been on all sorts of medication, and I've cut it down to the very minimal I can. Yeah. So what about mixing medications with vitamin tablets? What do you think of vitamin tablets?
No, supplements, it depends. Well, it comes back to what are they filling it with, because they have to use fillers too. But yeah, as I said, it just depends on what they're filling it with. But normally, like when you think of it theoretically, supplements, like I said about the drugs, the body will just get rid of it. If there's too much of it, the body will try and get rid of it. So it's the same with supplements. That's why when you have too much vitamin C, for instance, your pee will be yellow. Yeah.
Right.
And you have one of those multivitamins, and then you go to the toilet a few hours later. You go, oh, is that the blue color?
Yeah.
That's because your body's getting rid of it. So it's no big deal. It's no big deal if everything is potentially toxic, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So water you can potentially drown with too much water, right? So,
Right.
but I mean, to overdose on a supplement, you got to take a hell of a lot of it, a hell of a lot.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Because
does.
your body will just keep getting rid of it. But the problem is, as we get older, our digestive system and our excrement system finds it harder to get rid of things. That's why the elderly have more side effects, especially with medication, because they just can't get rid of it fast enough. That's why they have kidney failure and bowel issues.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I actually don't like taking any medication, not even Panadols. I really don't like taking anything. I mean, even my brother said even that I needed glasses years ago, and he's an optometrist. He said, "Oh, your eyesight's just going to get worse." And I actually did wear some glasses there for a while, maybe 20 years ago. And I wore them just for a few months, and I found my eyesight, my muscles in my eyes were getting really lazy, and I found it even harder to see, actually. Like they were like reading glasses, but then I found it harder to see in the distance. So I found that my eyes were getting lazy. And it's probably like your body with medication. You take medication, your body gets lazy, as you say, it doesn't produce what it needs to produce.
It doesn't need to.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to because it's already been replaced with something else.
Yeah.
Whatever you're taking.
Yeah.
So and you're talking about ADHD. I actually did a webinar on this. So there's two major causes from my understanding. Okay, there's going to be people out there that are going, "Oh yeah, whatever, Dr. Scott." So I figured this out through pulse diagnosis. This is where I feel the radial artery, the artery in the wrist here.
Yes.
And this artery tells me what's going on internally.
Okay. In this section. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So it's from the thumb. It's
right. Just here. Yeah.
You feel that bumpy bit? That's the styloid process.
Just
so
here.
either side of that bump, you can actually feel it over the bump, and you can also feel it either side. So that's they call it the radial artery.
Okay.
So that's the radial bone you're pushing on.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it is.
I'm pushing on something anyway. Here I'm playing with myself again.
Yeah, you are. That's right.
Missing all sorts of body parts before we went live on the show.
All right. Let's not get on that subject.
No, there are body parts in the hand and in the calf. Okay, so I don't know where your mind just went there, but if you're going to play with yourself,
with you, my mind, you have been known, yes. So we won't get into that.
You're blushing, Ken. You're blushing. Ken.
I know.
I was going to say. So,
I know. We're being a bit cheeky, but if you're going to play with yourself, you may as well do yourself some good with some healthy habits. And some healthy habits. We can talk about
consistent and be consistent when you play. Okay, so what I was going to say?
Pressure points. Yes. So you're talking about part of the hand.
Yeah. So that's the measuring stick. Basically, I can tell when there's anomalies in their health. And what I found is that there's two major causes. So one is the adrenal gland. So it's the adrenal gland sits above our kidneys and it spits out our stress hormones. So our fight or flight hormones, adrenaline, epinephrine, and cortisol. Now those three hormones do what? They speed us up, but for a reason. The tiger's coming; it's going to attack us. Let's get the hell out of here. Or you fight. So fight or flight.
Yeah.
So what can happen is an event or a series of events can flip us into this fight or flight mode. Now, what can happen is it doesn't stop. So majority of the population will go through a strenuous episode in their life. And if someone says that they don't, normally they've forgotten about it because they've shut it out of their head.
Yeah. Yes.
They don't want to know about it.
Or they lie about other things as well. But anyway,
So normally a majority of the population will go back to normal and they'll start to calm down. That hypervigilant state will dissipate. But there is a certain percentage, and I'd say in Australia, I don't know about the States, in Australia, it's about 15%. So it's about 1 in 6 Australians have got this. And
Wow.
what happens is their adrenal gland just won't shut down. It just continually spits out these stress hormones. So what are the symptoms? They can't stop. They just go, go, go. So
I can relate.
Yeah, so they go, go, go until they basically physically shut down. What do I mean by that? They basically push themselves until their back or something like that, or their legs just can't function anymore. They'll be bedridden, but it'll be only temporary, like for a day or two. But then they'll feel better again, and they'll be bang, let's go. They just can't stop.
Yeah.
They're constantly in this state of low level fear, because it's a subliminal fear. So what's happening is that it's like an imaginary tiger is always chasing them. Now, this can happen in children as well, and that's when it normally happens. What incidents can trigger it? Well, in Australia, because we're surrounded by water, it's normally almost drowning. So you get, mum and dad says, "Oh, go out and have a swim." You get stuck in a rip, takes you out. You're talking about this before, yeah? And that was when you're an adult. Well, this actually happens to a lot of kids as well. And so they get stuck in a rip, and then they, somehow they get taken back into shore, and then they're in this fight or flight. So it never actually really leaves them. So, but some kids do. They get over it. They calm down. Their body is able to relax. But there is, as I said, about 15% of the population just don't get over it, and they're just constantly on the go. Other things that can trigger it, well, inner circle issues like alcoholic parents, parents that are divorcing. They go with the mum. They don't know where they're going to get money from. They're afraid. They're scared. There can be car accidents, motorcycle accidents, even a push bike. I've had a few patients push bikes of all things, because what they do is they stack the bike to the point where they almost kill themselves. You see what I mean? When you're a kid, you don't take much. Oh, I went to the hospital. It was like how many years ago? Can't remember. But I do remember going to hospital. And then when they go back and talk to their parents, they go, "Oh yeah, you come close to dying." Sorry to say. I remember a perfect case. She was so ignorant of the fact, she didn't believe me. I said, felt a pulse, and I said, "Oh, you've got this, this adrenal fatigue." Another name is stage 3 chronic stress. And another name is post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD.
Oh, that's all the same as ADHD, or like adrenal fatigue. Okay, interesting.
Well, it's the underlying cause.
Okay, got you. Yeah. Okay.
That's why they're hyperactive.
Okay, got you. Yeah. Okay, I can relate. Yep.
There's one lady. She was in her 20s. She was a young mum, and I said, "You've got this PTSD." She didn't believe me. She's like, "What?" I said, "Well, have you been in any sort of incident recently, or were you ever scared at some stage?" She said, No. I said, "Okay, have you had any car accidents?" Oh, she said, "Yeah, I had a car accident about 6 months ago." I said, "Okay, can you tell me about it?" She said, "Well, the car rolled, and they had to use the jaws of life to get me out."
Oh my gosh. That sounds pretty traumatic.
Oh my
I said
goodness.
that would have scared the hell out of me.
Oh my gosh.
So you see what I mean? Sometimes people can just shut things out, and they just don't think that it can be affecting them. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, 100%. And this is where doing the inner work and having some self-awareness about your traumas from the past is really important.
Meditation is very, very good for this. Meditation.
Yes, meditation. That's a great healthy habit. And, all successful people I know meditate. Now, meditation and prayer I see is very closely related, meditation and prayer. I see that.
Yes, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah. So there's a second one. And that's actually an issue with the heart itself. But normally it's because there's a weakness of the heart. So these people have low blood pressure normally. So it's the actual wall of the heart is not thick enough to push the blood around the body. So these people, they'll have to be doing things to try and keep exciting the heart, because the heart's just not pumping the blood around the body. So they have to be constantly go.
I'm actually getting trauma from you touching your headset there, because it's crackling every time. I'm starting to get a bit of ADHD. And
I was going to mention it, but I was like, I don't want to be rude.
You think I was
your microphone, every time you touch it, or like it crackles everywhere.
Well, apologies, guys.
Yeah, it crackles. That's okay. That was quite funny because
I'll rein it in. I won't touch it. Okay.
For the audio people, there's the kinesthetic, the audio, the visual people, right? The audio people will be going. It'll be like like nails on a chalkboard. But anyway, we're got to call it out. But this is fascinating, Scott, and because I would say a lot of people have some kind of increasing stress going on in life, and I think life is speeding up, right? Since even social media came about 20 years ago, it's kind of like everything's speeding up. And now with the AI world, it feels to me like so many people just don't have time for stuff anymore, or they feel like they don't have time, right? They feel like they're constantly sort of running on empty, constantly chasing their tail, or like the mouse on the wheel. So meditation is a great way to center yourself. In fact, a great healthy habit that I've taken on recently is I've been doing some great long beach walks and swimming in the ocean. And then, I do things like yoga, and I have saunas, and I meditate daily. For me, it's now it's a non-negotiable meditating, right? And it's taken me a long time to get to this point, because for years as a elite table tennis player and then a media person for 20 years, constant deadlines and tight time frames, and even like being in any kind of sport will bring up your adrenaline as well. It will bring up full-on heightened adrenaline with any sport. So just getting conscious to that, and I thought for a long time I couldn't meditate, because every time I went to meditate I'd fall asleep. And I thought, well, because I was that tired and exhausted that when I went to actually slow down, I shut down completely. However, apparently even a guided meditation can work while you're sleeping, so that's okay. But it's taken some practice to learn to meditate. So what do you do, Scott? Do you meditate daily, or what's your habit around that?
Yes. I cheat, but I do what you do. I exercise, and then I listen to affirmations, and also I have like a prayer to myself as well. But basically I'm trying to empty the mind, because thoughts are overrated. Sorry to say.
Yes, and we all get very significant about our thoughts, right? We get very significant about our thoughts, and we always want to be right about our thoughts.
I just want to add something to that, the PTSD.
Sure.
You talked about elite sports. Most of these elite sports people have got it too. They've got PTSD too. That's why they're good at. That's why they're the best in the world at what they do, because they're just running on adrenaline all the time. They're running on fumes all the time. They can't help themselves. They've got to be constantly. These racing car drivers, I'd say 99% of them have got it. Why? Because they push the cars so hard that they crash, and guess what? They almost kill themselves. Motorcycle riders, same deal.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see it more with a motorcycle rider. I can totally see that.
I've treated heaps of these guys, and they've all got it. Even elite athletes, a lot of them have got it. Soccer players, football players, hockey players. They've all got this. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them have got it.
And I can imagine, the emergency service workers, right? The police, the ambulance, the nurses, the doctors. Like they would have it full on. Like, I mean, I spending 3 months in hospital, looking after my mum, I was seeing what was going on in there. It was a bloody shit show. It was like, what the hell? I mean, this is when I say shit show, I mean, it was just chaos. There wasn't enough staff for the number of people in the hospitals. the people weren't getting the proper treatment that they needed in general, because there just wasn't enough, enough help for people that were in there. And then dealing with people that are having episodes and, like all these different ailments and conditions and, side effects. And, like twice we went to get mum up and she had a vasovagal episode and she just basically fainted. And, I'm sure the hospitals do the best they can, but, it would be incredibly stressful dealing with a whole lot of sick people every day.
Well, and yeah, I worked in those environments for 10 years. I was a guard, like you said in my bio. I was a guard for 10 years, and I saw this. And I mean, I don't know if you're anywhere. They call it resus. So they're actually resuscitating people. There's these bays that's what they're designed for. They're designed to resus, bring people back, basically. Now you're seeing a lot of death because they don't always bring them back.
No.
They're seeing death, and that can also do it. You watch someone die, that can trigger you, flip you into this fight or flight as well. So you're exactly right. Doctors can get it, nurses more so, because doctor can just stand back and walk away if they want, because
nurses
they declare they come in and declare them dead. Yes, but they don't have to watch them die. See what I'm saying?
Yes, and then add mandates to the nurses as well, right? And that was interesting. We had a whole lot of nurses protesting that in Australia here. So you kind of wonder, the nurses that are now left in the system, you think, what's going on there. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But basically,
I've got heaps of information about that too, because I treat them. I treat nurses too.
I'm sure you do. Yep.
So they give me information all the time about what's happening in their world.
I'm sure, and they're very informed. And so there's one person you don't want to upset in a hospital. It's a nurse, right? Because they could, they could end things for you very quickly if if you're not careful, right? They know all the drugs, right?
They made movies about that.
Yes,
but yeah, majority. Sure. Look, majority. I've worked with hundreds of nurses, and majority of them have their hearts and their heads in the right place. And they're trying. They're only trying their best. They're
absolutely
in a system that they know, and they say it openly, that is not working properly for the society, and they are trying their best. They what else can they do? They have to go outside, and if they speak up, they're ostracized. Same with the doctors. They're in no different. They just take their license away. They say anything outside of what they're trying to do.
Well, it's very interesting. Yeah, it's very well. That's right. Exactly. There's so many people that in the healthcare industry, or sickness industry, I often call it. There's a lot of people who are scared of treating certain types of people, like the jab injured, for example. I'm saying jab injured because I spoke to a lady last night that said she's had a hell of a time trying to get treatment because cardiologists are, worried about court cases and all that kind of thing. But there's a lot of them out there that are feeling really put to the side, really neglected in the whole scheme of things because of what's happened during the whole pandemic. And
that's another thing, is that they don't know what's going to happen. They don't have the research to back what they're trying to say and what they've done to this community. And the problem with that is that because they don't know what is going to happen in the future, there's going to be these unexplained deaths and unexplained injuries.
There's unexplained deaths all over the place, sudden deaths and all that other stuff.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for those who are on the front line and they have to, deal with this because, they've been told to go and do this for the community. And then now there's a fallout. There's a fallout from that. And then, like you said, now they're worried about, and that's why I say, my mentor says it all the time, they're practicing legal medicine. It's not their fault. It's just the way that they've been taught and the system has been set up for. And the problem is that, they are practicing legal medicine. And like you said, they're worried about getting sued. So they're worried about, treating, which is crazy. That's absolutely nuts.
It is nuts.
They're They're refusing. Well, they were refusing people back in 2020. Like that's what they're there for.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're there for. And so a lot of people are feeling rejected. They're feeling like outcasts. They're feeling totally kicked to the curb. And it's not being talked about, and the media can't talk about it because the owners of the media companies are in bed with the companies behind these pharmaceuticals or these experimental injections that they've been doing. So it's a very interesting time we're in, and unfortunately, there's been a lot of side effects that have happened, and a lot of people have died. A lot of people have, my dad got shingles, for example, after he had the jab. A lot of people felt coerced. They felt they had to do it for work or for travel or to see their family in nursing homes. A lot of people didn't want to do it and did it, and now wish they didn't do it. So for those who did it and wish they didn't do it, what can they now do? Is there any way they're going to get that stuff out of their body?
Well, yeah, I would suggest to see someone alternative. Not only
a
Chinese
holistic
medicine.
Doctor. Yeah, a holistic doctor, one that's well-rounded,
yeah. Well, you're only going to get the same answer, yeah. If you go to the mainstream medication,
mainstream doctors,
practices, mainstream doctors.
Yeah.
It's the same with media, yeah. If you go to the mainstream media, you're going to get the same old.
Exactly, mainstream media. Yeah. They're all silenced, basically. They're silenced.
Yeah, well, they're coerced as well. So, and that's what I'm saying is, so you're only going to get two answers. You're only going to get medication or surgery. So, and now they're starting to reject people because they're worried about getting sued. So, yeah, my answer is basically find someone that is alternative. Natural medicine is much better. And I mean, yeah, there are a lot of great practitioners out there. I'm not saying just use Chinese medicine, but there's, naturopathy, there's Western herbalism, and there are other modalities I probably haven't mentioned. But yeah, definitely homeopathy is another one. Did you know homeopathy is the largest practiced medicine in the world?
Really? Wow.
Yeah. You think about it, 1.5 billion people that live in India, majority of them use it.
Wow.
So,
wow, that's great. So there's and you think of the Aboriginals and the shamans and the like for millions of years we've used medicine from nature, and now the last 200 or so years we've had pharmaceuticals, and now we seem to have the sickest population out there than ever. I know Ken has a lot of stats on this too because he's a master researcher.
That's what I've been looking at over here. I'm pulling up something that I want to share when I get the chance. But yeah, so if you're wondering why I'm looking over here, I'm actually pulling up some stuff. Yep.
You can't just use peyote all the time, but Ken, you gotta use other herbs, brother. There's other herbs out there. I'm only kidding. Just kidding.
I know. I'm like, okay.
Is that why you're hallucinating? I was going to say, but yeah, you're exactly right. The same with the indigenous people here. I call them indigenous. I'm not going to call them Aboriginals because that's made up. And they are indigenous, and
indigenous.
They have 10,000 years. Yeah, that's right. They're 10,000 years of information that and a lot of trial and error.
Yes, I'm sure.
I gave that herb to Uncle Joe over here, and he didn't do so well. So we don't probably not take as much as that herb that we gave him. So you see what I'm saying? It's the same with Chinese medicine. It was no different. It was trial and error. They figured it out through taking the herb or whatever it is. But got to remember, guys, as I said to you before, it's the same with supplements. It's no different. You got to take a truckload of it for it to have a side effect, because the body is naturally designed to get rid of whatever we have in excess. Okay, but and when it comes to something that is man-made, now that is different.
Very much so. All right, so I want to interject here because I've got a ton of stuff that I've been waiting to share here. So first of all, let's reverse and let's go back to the medications. So, Scott, I think you're right on. I think you're right on with everything you said there regarding medications. Bottom line, they're just a Band-Aid. They do not fix the root problem. Period. They don't. And then you have the medical industry that is capitalized on that, and they literally are profiting off of it. And it's a profit-making machine. So I mean, like, I'm kind of like going into the other angle that you didn't quite go into. You kind of stayed more of the health angle, which I totally get. But it's a profit machine. And then you have the medical system, medical doctors. Now, before I say what I'm going to say that there are doctors out there that have their heart in the right place. They just don't know that they've been educated by a very broken and corrupt system. They have no clue that they are actually doing damage and harm to people unbeknownst to them. Then there are some doctors that are complicit. They realize what's going on, but they're making too much money, so they're complicit. And so the medical system, let's put it this way. See, I wrote an article a couple of years ago. Basically, the title of it is "What Happens When You Listen to Most Doctors' Nutritional Advice." Well, if you know me well enough, you can figure out where that article went. So I'll just say that. But here's the thing. In all the years of medical education that a doctor has to go through, all the studying, all the schooling, and I'm not just talking about 4 years of schooling. We're talking about maybe 8, 9 years of education in the medical industry. They might, and might is a very big word, they might receive a semester on nutrition. They're not educated in nutrition. At least not the mainstream doctors. They are not. They are educated. Oh, you have this problem? Take this. Oh, you have this problem? Take this. And why? Because a lot of times these pharmaceutical medicines that they're prescribing to people, they get a kickback. They get a kickback from it. A lot of the jab stuff that's going on, a lot of doctors get a huge kickback for that, for convincing somebody to take the jab. A lot of doctors.
It's the same here, brother. It's the same in Australia.
It's exactly the same in Australia. It literally is infuriating to me, that system. Supplements, I have my own view on supplements. Number one, I think before you start taking supplements, so I'm not totally against supplements. I have a few of them that I take. But one of the reasons why I push away a lot of people that want to try to partner with me with their supplements is because, no, that's not the answer. To me, that just is another Band-Aid fix. It's another quick fix of the system. It's a diet mindset. It's, well, if I take these, I'm going to lose this amount of weight. Yes, you're going to lose the amount of weight, but you're going to gain it back because you're not fixing the root issue. And so I think before we talk about supplements, I think we need to talk about what you're eating, the foods you're consuming. Let's dial that in first, so you're getting real natural nutrition first. Then if there's some other things that you think you need to supplement, okay, that's fine. But I think nowadays in the society that we live in, I think too many people just run to supplements for that Band-Aid quick fix because their eating routine is so freaking screwed up and off the wall that, yeah, so then there's that. All right, then there's this. So I wanted to read this quote. So in regards to the sudden deaths and the jab, so I'm being very careful to use specific words here. Yeah.
Go kid.
So here's the quote. From January. Okay, so first of all, did you know that the sudden death rates were around 1 out of every 9,000 to 1 out of every 300,000 deaths per year in a healthy, fit, young athletes? And that was back in 2016. All right. Now, here's the thing. Let me read this. I'm going to read this. The news is too huge and too widespread to be labeled as misinformation, as athletes and around the globe are dropping dead from cardiac arrests like never before by the thousands. Perfectly healthy athletes in every arena, on every court, in every field of play, simply dying out of the blue from heart failure, and the media won't dare to mention the COVID. I think this is okay for me to say the COVID clots shots. They almost all received prior. They almost all received prior to the headlines of died suddenly. All ages are affected, from middle school to high school to college and professional. Nobody's immune, and so that creates millions of microscopic vascular clots that strain the heart and lead to sudden death during rigorous sports. The government reports reveal that the jab holocaust, trying to be very careful here, is well underway. Now, the new, okay, so I'm not going to read the rest of that. So here's the other quote. From January 2021 to April 2022, at least 673 athletes are said to have died from sudden deaths. This number is only 428 deaths less than the 1,100 known to have died as outlined by the study on sudden death in athletes from 1966 through 2004. Now listen carefully. Those 1,101 athlete deaths occurred over almost 40 years. So 1,111 and 1 deaths occurred over the course of 40 years, and yet 673 died over only 16-month period since the jabs have been introduced. Good sciencing has that number closer to 1,323, which includes they include a comprehensive list there. So when you compare how many deaths are happening over and over again to that long span of 1,100, only 1,100 over the course of 40 years of sudden deaths, to literally over a very short period of time, we had 673 in a 16-month period. If you do the math, that is staggering.
Blah, blah. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, there's a statistic from the States that our statistics here aren't very good. They're pretty terrible. That with the deaths, they are more accurate, but when it comes to categorizing, they're not very clear. Mm-hmm. But I do know that in the States, 10,000 Americans die each week from medical mishaps.
Wow,
that's the gorilla in the 10-ton gorilla in the room. Yeah, medical mishaps are drug interactions, drug overdose, medication overdose. And when I say drug overdose, I don't mean heroin or crystal meth. I'm talking about prescription medication,
like remdesivir, whatever you call that the hospitals give. That remdesivir, I always mispronounce it.
Ketamine, the propofol, the anesthesia. You got a 2% chance of dying on the table just from the anesthesia. So when you go into surgery, they normally will tell you this. You got a 2% chance of dying just from the anesthesia. And they're not
My
even
mom's
talking
never
about.
been told that. I've never heard that from a doctor.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, no, they don't say that. I don't think my mom's ever been told that, and she's been under anesthesia quite a few times.
And you got a 4% chance of losing your memory forever.
Wow.
We've got an epidemic of, what is it? Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Oh, can't understand why.
Well, I'll tell you some of the reasons for Alzheimer's. I'll chime in with that one right now because I wrote a whole article on this particular topic, not necessarily Alzheimer's, but I wrote a whole article on cholesterol. How many okay, so first of all, if you take first of all, let me give a little bit for the audience listening here. Let me give a little bit of context. First of all, LDL and HDL are not cholesterol at all. They are lipoprotein transports. One transports cholesterol to different parts of your body that need it. The other one transports cholesterol back to your liver to be reused. All right, here's the other thing. Here's an interesting stat for you, and really wrap your head around this. 85% of the cholesterol that is produced in your body is produced naturally by your body. Only 15% of your of the other cholesterol comes from food. Only 15%. You add on that the stat that your body creates 3,000 milligrams of cholesterol per day automatically. And the American Heart Association wants to turn around and tell you adding an extra 300 per day is going to put you at a higher risk of coronary heart disease. No, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. The other thing here, too, is so the numbers that you get from your doctor, I'm going to tell you straight out, that is only just a very, very, very small fraction of the story. So you can go to your doctor and your cholesterol numbers can be totally normal. And I'm leading up to my point. But you can go to the doctor and they can tell your cholesterol is normal. But I'm going to tell you that you can still be in grave danger. Because if your eating routine is a bunch of processed food, industrial seed oils, and all that other stuff, your cholesterol cells are being oxidized. It's all about the consumption of your cholesterol cells, what they are absorbing. That is what damages your cholesterol. That is what makes the cholesterol good or bad, is what they are consuming and what they are absorbing. It has virtually almost nothing to do with the numbers. If your diet is dialed in and you're eating whole foods, you're eating good quality ingredients, and your cholesterol is high, that is actually a good thing that will cause you to live longer, and your immune system is going to be stronger because of it. Now, let's get into the aspect of Alzheimer's with all of that prefaced. Cholesterol lowering medicines. See, a lot of this hysteria around cholesterol was created by the industry. The industry actually put the word cholesterol at the end of LDL and HDL to scare people into taking statin drugs, which is a cholesterol lowering drug. My question is, how many Alzheimer's cases are because of cholesterol lowering drugs? Because it shrinks the brain. Because when your body is lacking in cholesterol, your brain needs massive, massive, massive amounts of cholesterol. And when you begin to lower it, your brain begins to shrink, which then causes Alzheimer's. So how many of those Alzheimer's cases are because of statin drugs? That's my question.
And yeah, that's on top of. That's on top of. And yeah, I did a webinar on seeded oils. That stuff is poison. Don't eat it, guys. It's absolutely, it is poison. It's killing people. So yeah, and to your point, with statins especially, if you go to a website, it's called www. It eludes me at the moment. I'll get back to it, but anyway, yes, basically it points out that out of 313 people who took a statins, only one person didn't have a stroke.
Oh,
wow, that's huge.
Right? What does that tell you? Here's the other thing I'll say, and then I'm going to shut up because I become a fire hose when I talk about this kind of stuff. The issue should never, ever, ever be lowering your cholesterol. That is the entirely wrong way to think about it altogether.
Yes.
So anyhow, back to you, Scott.
Yeah, and it's I think it was 217 out of 217 people who took the statins, only one person didn't have a heart attack. So it doesn't, and morbidity wise, sorry, I should say, it doesn't extend your life by 1 day. It won't lengthen your life by 1 day. It's useless. And look, go to your doctor and ask them how many patients have they given the statins to, and that they haven't had a heart attack or stroke, because the numbers are getting worse.
Yeah, very much so.
The numbers are getting worse when it comes to people having strokes and heart attacks, and they're taking the statins, so they're dying with low cholesterol.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. I'm going to pull up some other stats that I have, but continue.
Just before you do, can I just mention, I just did a quick Google. Now, I don't know how much we can trust the World Health Organization in general.
Oh,
however,
Lord, don't get me started on them.
They do have a stat here that 2.6 million people die each year due to medical errors. 2.6 million people. That is insane. Now, there's about 1 million people a year worldwide that take their own lives. We have 1 in 3 people have depression. 1 in 6 people have chronic stress, right? ADHD, etc. So this is interesting. And people, what do? They go for the quick fix. They go for the pill. They just want the quick fix, right? Or they go for the drugs. I mean, we've got an ice epidemic. We've got a full-on drug problem here in Australia at the moment. It's people are totally losing the plot. So yeah, it's crazy what's going on in there. I want to say hello to our viewers on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I can see a few of you there on Instagram. Papo to Australia. We've got Napkin Diary, Karen Collins. Good to see you. I've had a few people on YouTube as well join us. Thank you for your comments. We've had some very interesting comments come through this show. And some people are asking about your glasses, Scott. What now? There is the red pill and the blue pill. Now, we know there's the red glasses and the blue glasses. Now, you've got the red glasses there. Can you tell us about that?
So basically, LED screens, so that's your TV, your phones, and they any LED screen will emit blue light or green light. Normally it's blue light. So what the problem with blue light is, or green light, is that it decreases your ability to produce dopamine. So basically what it does is it dumbs you down, makes you dumber. To bring it into a short sentence without going into an essay. So these red glasses, they cut out the blue and green light. Yeah. And what that does is it increases dopamine production. And so then, you feel more energetic. Your eyesight will actually be better. And also, I don't want to get too scientific for you, but basically what I'm trying to do is create more energy within the cell. So, and if you wake up first thing in the morning and you see the sun, you'll actually notice that it'll be a red color. You'll be like, what? Really?
Yes, I've heard there's a lot of health benefits for looking at that red color early in the morning. The only problem is I'm not up that early.
And and that comes back to healthy habits, So
that's right, healthy habits.
So so if you can use these also to see the sun a lot better. It actually helps your eyes adjust to the sun a lot quicker. But the principle is to try and basically create more energy within yourself. And I won't get too scientific with it. But that's basically what I'm trying to do.
I think all red pillars, instead of the tinfoil hat, we should all have a set of those glasses, I reckon.
Right.
That'll identify the blue
I don't want to go into what it's all by design. That's why they created LED.
But
LED lights, screens, I should say.
Continuing with what I wanted to share earlier. So here's a couple more stats, kind of talking about the study that you were talking about on how the people with lower cholesterol were dying more often. There's more of them. So here's a stat for you real quick.
Sorry.
Hold the thought. I want to hear your thought. Okay. So this is coming straight out of my boot camp, actually, that I have. Did you know that according to a 30-year follow-up of the famous Framingham study, deaths from heart disease and all other related issue rose by 11% for every 1% decline in cholesterol. In addition to that, here's one more stat I'll throw at you. Overall, more current studies have found that the lower someone's cholesterol, the more likely they were to die. The risk of dying rose by 22% for every 30 milligrams decline in blood cholesterol. Boom.
Yeah, it's a flawed theory, absolutely flawed. So I'll put in the private chat, Aldwyn, it's called the NNT.com.
Yes.
So it stands for the number needed to treat. It's a research term. Basically, it gives you all the numbers. So that, it was, to avoid a non-fatal stroke, 1 out of 313 didn't have the stroke. So that's like, to stop a stroke, you've got, it's like less than 0.03%. It's crazy. And 1 out of 217 avoided a non-fatal heart attack. So I've got the
It's insane, and it's so important to do your own research and to get alternative points of view. You know, we've been brought up to trust the medical system, to trust the education system, and we know it's all crumbling because the truth always comes out in the end. And we know there's so many hidden agendas at play, often with a lot of advice that we've been given by so-called experts. And this is where, thank goodness for channels like BitChute, Rumble, Signal, Telegram. Thank goodness for alternative media, freedom of speech media that does not censor information, because I always say if there's nothing to hide, why the censorship? Why did we have mass burnings, the whole crucible thing of all the, the witches back in the day, right? The whole, why were and these were mostly natural medicine, people. These were homeopaths, right? These were the people that got burned at the stake that they called witches were actually people that were practicing natural medicine.
They're just practicing herbalism. That's all they were doing.
Yeah.
It was all, and same thing, same old deal. It was all by design. So I'll just go back to that research paper. So, like it says that like I said, it's got a really slim chance of stopping a heart attack or a stroke, but then it has harms. You'll see that it says harms there. Well, you got a better chance of getting muscle damage and type 2 diabetes. So wow. 1 in 21 got pain from muscle damage, 1 in 21, and 1 in 204 developed diabetes.
Did you know that it's actually never been proven? Catch this one. It has actually never been proven legitimately that cholesterol causes coronary heart disease or is linked with coronary heart disease.
It was a theory. Hansel Keys. That was Hansel Keys.
Hansel Keys. Yes, you're correct. Yep. Very familiar with his work. The guy's a nut job.
Yeah, it was. He was I'd hate to say it, but he killed more people than Hitler and Pol Pot together.
Wow. Now that one I didn't know.
Well, you sum up, all the cholesterol theories killed a lot of people.
Massively. I think it's almost like, what would you call a person like that? Not genocide, but...
No, it is genocide.
Okay, so genocide. Genocide,
death by government, isn't it?
Or for what?
All for what? Well, there is the depopulation agenda. Well, that's right. If you want to know what's going on in the world, just follow the money trail. As they say in the Thrive documentaries, highly recommend you watch them if you haven't seen them yet. The Thrive documentaries, they're in the Conscious Community Global Facebook group. They are featured at the top there, along with a whole lot of other amazing resources to help open your eyes and open your mind to what is going on in the world. Now, while we're sharing all this, some of this can be quite concerning and alarming for some people, particularly if you haven't heard some of this information before. So we invite you to have an open mind right now. We invite you to question everything. Don't necessarily believe what we are saying right here. Do your own research with all of this, okay? Now, your health, talking about healthy habits, your health is in your hands. Yes, there's been evil forces since the beginning of time. Yes, there'll be evil forces till the end of time, but we also have our light forces. We have the yin yang of life, and what we focus on will grow. So I think it's very important as we're sharing some of this, there's going to be different emotions coming up for you. You'll be feeling angry, you'll be feeling sad, frustrated. Those kind of emotions will be coming up as you hear some of this stuff, and some of it is completely unbelievable. And this is why so many people bury their head in the sand, because they don't want to believe that this is true.
It's called cognitive dissonance.
Right. Yeah. Cognitive dissonance. Yeah, there you go. So, and more people are waking up because they're seeing firsthand, they're seeing what is happening to themselves and their families. And it's very, very interesting what's going on out there. So Scott, talking of healthy habits, now I know a lot of the world's elite, or sort of when I say elite, like as in the wealthy out there, and I'm not talking about the evil elite. I'm talking about a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, a lot of people who live lives they love, who are crusaders, who are making a big difference in the world, who have financial freedom, which is generally what the top 1% of the population. A lot of these people wake up at 5 a.m. There's this whole 5 a.m. club thing that goes on, right? Now, Scott, you mentioned, waking up early is a habit, right? Can we talk about that for a minute and how important that is?
Well, for me, it's like I said, it's back to the 3 pillars. So I'm trying to cram the 3 pillars into first thing in the morning, first couple of hours of the morning. So I try to go for a walk like you do for a couple of hours. I usually do about an hour, and I did an hour and a half this morning, but the last few days, the same as you, I've been doing a couple of hours in the morning. And while I do that, as I said, I use affirmations and I use meditation and prayer to calm the mind and also calm your heart. So in Chinese medicine, the heart and the mind are one. They can't exist without each other. And in conventional medicine, they look at it very much the same way in certain situations for them. So there is an acknowledgement that the brain and the heart, they have to coexist. So yeah, and like I say, the earlier you get up, the better. Why? Because, like I said, if you see the sun for 20 minutes first thing in the morning, you're going to see that red light. And then you're going to feel more energetic. Why? Because they found out that energizes the cells. So the sun is a very powerful component to our health. I didn't realize until just recently, for the last 6 months actually, that how important the sun is to us, and especially first thing in the morning. If you can look at the sun first thing in the morning, because we were told the opposite, yeah? When I was young, I was told never ever look at the sun.
Yeah. Yeah, we were told that.
Never look at the sun. You're going to go blind when you get older. That's what they said.
Yes, they did. They did. And then they said slip, slop, slap. And they said put all this sunscreen all over your face. Now,
oh God,
sunscreen.
Now the research is it's all pointing towards what it's supposed to prevent. What the hell?
And it's causing cancer, right? Research shows.
And we talked about it before. For what? Profit. So so getting up at the first thing in the morning. The other thing is, first thing in the morning you have more energy as well. It's easier to go and exercise first thing in the morning than it is in the evening. Just from personal experience. And, when you're in your 20s, and it doesn't matter, does it? You're energetic all the time. You're full of beans that but you could do things when you're in your 20s that you couldn't do when you get older. Why? Because your body repairs faster. It all comes back to repair. So if how fast you respond and repair, basically. So but that comes back to those habits first thing in the morning. Habits are very important. That consistency with habits, wow, you can achieve a lot of things with those two. So yeah, getting up early in the morning and getting those things, those 3 pillars, working on those 3 pillars first thing in the morning, it helps a lot.
Yes, and also getting enough sleep is very important, right? So, I've tended to be a night owl, as they say. I haven't tended to be what I call a morning person. However, I must say that when I get to bed early enough and I wake up early enough, I always find that if I get up early and I do a walk or do yoga or have a swim in the ocean or whatever it is, I always find it sets my day up beautifully. I find I have a much more productive day. I find I feel amazing. I have more energy because I have energized my body by moving it first thing in the morning. I have more energy through the day. And of course, life is energy, right? Your health is energy. And, with wearing the glasses, you're giving yourselves more energy, right? You're giving yourselves more life force, right? So important. And health is so many different things. When we say healthy habits, now you have a healthy habits club, Scott. Can you share about this Healthy Habits Club and what you do there?
I've got 2. I got the health club. So the health club is more about your meditation, exercise. It's about what do you call it? The EFT, emotional freedom technique. It's about understanding disease as well, blocks within our mind that cause disease, because our mind is a very powerful thing. I also teach about acupuncture in the health club, Chinese herbal medicine, nutrition, obviously. Talk about nutrition. Now, nutrition also includes water. Water is very important. Remember that we are 87% water. And also creating health goals as well. So that's all just in the health club. Now, also, I have the Healthy Habits Club. Now, the Healthy Habits Club is basically about mindset, nutritional supplementation, also creating a eating habit for yourself. So planning out what your meals are going to be for the day. And also learning about nutrition. So I actually go into detail about macronutrients, not micronutrients. What are carbs? What are fats? What are proteins? Because we've only got a choice of 3 macronutrients. Isn't that terrible? 3. That's what nature gave us. So it's fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. That's it. You don't get a choice of anything else.
However, I will mention, though, there is no essential carb. We do not need them. You don't need them with every meal. However, carbs are useful when strategically placed and used. So, not to say that, don't eat any carbs. No, use them wisely, but you do not need them with every meal.
Well, you can't avoid it anyway, Ken. Yeah, it's in everything. You can't avoid it. It's in meat. It's in everything. You can't avoid it. So that the problem is because of Hansel Keys. I'll go back to Hansel.
Right.
He's told us that we should be eating more carbohydrates.
6 to 11 servings per day.
Yeah, carbohydrates or protein. That's what he was basically saying. And don't eat any fat. So, because that comes back to you were talking about before, LDLs and HDLs.
Yeah.
Because they can measure that. I found out that they can measure that. That's why they use it.
Yeah.
And so the problem with that is it's easier to manufacture carbohydrates in bulk than it is to manufacture protein. So that's why we had this huge epidemic of carbohydrate intake.
Money.
Yeah. And that's why we've got an epidemic of type 2 diabetes. Which
100%.
And then a lot of those people are turning into type 1. Crazy.
Here's the other thing I'll add. With all the knowledge that you have, Scott, I'd be surprised if you don't already know this, but some of our audience might be surprised at this. Check this out, you guys. Back in the 1980s and the 1990s, the cigarette and tobacco companies were declining in sales because it was becoming very widely known that they were addictive and bad for you. So R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris had to then make a strategic shift in what they were bringing in for profit. And where did they switch their attention to? Our food. And so basically, they assigned their top dollar million billion dollar scientists, the same ones that worked so hard to make cigarettes addictive, they assigned them to then the food sector to put the perfect amount of certain ingredients in our food. And it's not just as simple as sugars, salt, and fats. There's a lot of other interesting ingredients in there. And some of them I won't mention here because if I do, there are going to be some people that have a massive amount of cognitive dissonance with that one. But there are certain things that are also put in some of those packaged foods that are designed to make it to where our taste buds can't taste the chemicals that are in our foods. But where I'm going with all this is they worked very hard to create foods that would bring you to the perfect bliss point, not above, not below, the perfect bliss point, which then in turn starts creating addictions. And because it's a perfect bliss point, it starts to create new neural pathways in your head that then begin to change your taste buds craving and what you're craving, what you're hungry for. It literally reprograms you. But then it gets worse. Then you have the people, because it taps into the pleasure centers of your brain, you have people out there that are emotional eating. And what's even worse about that is they're beating themselves up thinking that they have a problem. There's, that something's wrong with them. When the fact of the matter is the root core issue is these industry processed foods that has actually created the problem in them. It actually created the snacking issues. It created the hunger issues, the sugar addictions, all of that. They created those very things. The food pyramid had nothing to do about your health. The food pyramid was nothing more than an advertisement to send you into their system of process and specially designed foods that create the bliss point.
You took the whiz right out of my mouth.
Yay.
Yes.
That is so interesting. And so when it comes to eating food, now Ken is a big advocate for meat, all right, for real meat, eating real meat, not the fake meat, right?
Not the fake meat. Please stay away from that, people.
Stay away from the fake meat. And we did a whole episode on seed oils and how bad seed oils are. You were saying that's very toxic. And seed oils are just in just about everything. I was shocked how much seed oils and vegetable oils are in just about everything we consume. It's really important to, as Ken always says, turn the freaking thing over, right? Look at the ingredients. You might need a magnifying glass to be able to read them. However, turn the packet over. Generally, anything in a packet just about, I think generally is not very good for you. If you just about anything in a packet, right? So the more natural you can get your food, the better. Scott, what are your thoughts on meat eating versus vegetarian or veganism?
I got no problem with vegans and vegetarians. Just that the problem is they can get caught up in the wrong types of vegan foods. What do I mean by that? Well, corn chips is a perfect example. They're vegan, right?
Yes.
They're vegan, very vegan, but
they're full of
the wrong saturated fats, and
isn't most corn today genetically modified and full of glyphosate?
Yeah, so see what I'm saying? You can get fat vegans.
Yes.
You can get fat vegetarians.
Yes, you can.
But,
and fat. And unhealthy.
Why? Because, they're eating highly processed foods. They get bored of the fruit and veggies. And what do they go to? They go to the highly processed foods. So it can. But, I mean, look, I just found that after about 6 months, it might be a bit longer, might be 2 years, they'll start to feel weak because our body breaks down all fruit and vegetables as a carb. How do I know? Because my mentor did blood sugar tests with hundreds of
Insulin.
patients.
Yep.
So he realized that fruit and vegetables, the liver breaks down as a carbohydrate.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it causes an insulin spike. So the other thing is, like I said, so what I'm trying to point out is that there are a lot of vegans and vegetarians that think that you can get proteins from lentils and nuts, for instance. But the problem is the liver doesn't break it down as a protein. It breaks it down as a carbohydrate. Sorry to say.
Yeah, and so what eventually happens with that, so I've been doing a lot of studying on the master insulin, the master hormone, the master fat storage hormone, is what I now call it, because it's very, very accurate. And it's very, very surprising, some of the things that I found out about insulin as I did a deep dive on it. And there's a lot of people that have no idea what's actually going on in their body with insulin. And they have no idea. There's a lot of people walking out there that I think are pre-diabetics, and they have no clue. No clue. They have no symptoms, no clue at all. And here's the other thing I'll add on to that with, the vegetables and fruits. So that's one whole monster in itself. Then you have the people that are eating multiple times per day. And they think that they're doing good. They think that they're speeding up their metabolism and all that. All they're doing is constantly spiking that insulin. And then eventually what begins to happen is the cells that are supposed to absorb insulin, they just keep getting a supply. Insulin becomes white noise eventually. And the cells are no longer absorbing. And so then I think it's your pancreas that has to produce more insulin and more because your cells aren't getting the right stuff that they need. And so it's just more and more. And then all of a sudden your system gets overloaded. You become pre-diabetic and different things like that. So I'm also not a believer in the multiple meal per day club at all. At most, I'll have 2 meals per day. And sometimes it's 1. And I'm happy with that. I work out at the gym in a fasted state, and I love doing it. Now, I'm not saying intermittent fasting is for everybody, although I will say also that on that topic, intermittent fasting gets a bad rap because there's a lot of people that jump into intermittent fasting too hard. They don't jump in at a sustainable level and then work to slowly expand that, slowly but surely. So that's what I'll say about that. But insulin and these fruits and even some of the vegetables, as I've been learning as well, the vegetables are considered as carbs, which I actually, up until this last year, didn't know a vegetable was considered a carb. But those all turn into sugar, glucose.
Yeah. So that if you actually research history, and especially in the other religious cultures, and they still do it today in certain religious circles, is that they fast for days on end, and there's a reason why they do that, because they now figured out it's actually, to put it in simple terms, it's actually giving your liver time to have a little cleanse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of producing, and pancreas, I'm sick of producing insulin. So you're actually giving me a rest. So thank you very much. So the other thing is, food industry created the word breakfast.
Yes, please talk about that.
Well, it's called a fast. So we usually stopped eating around about 7 p.m. and then we didn't, normally in history, we didn't eat until midday. So they created they want to make more money. Oh, let's get them to have 3 meals a day.
And who was it that created it? So I know
I don't know that. I don't know exactly who
it originally came from the cereals company Kellogg's and General Mills. They wanted to sell more of their cereal. So what happened is they created that slogan, start your day right and all this other stuff. And it just became culture. It became, the normal thing. And everybody thought, oh, it's healthy and it's great. But the fact of the matter is there's no scientific basis for it. Zero.
No, there isn't. And so I've got a motto for you already. So cereal is a serial killer.
Yes, I love that. I'm going to steal that.
It is.
It's a serial. In fact, I'm writing it down right now.
Because you check out the packaging, none of it's under. So I have another motto: try and keep your carbohydrates under 10%. Try and keep it under 10%.
So good.
Try hard. It's not easy. It's very hard to do, but yeah, try and keep it. So if you read the context on the back of your package, look under the 100-gram section, and check out all the cereals, and you'll be hard. I don't think there is one, actually. Now I come to think of it. There's nothing under 10%. I think Wheat Bix, I don't know if they have Wheat Bix over there, Ken.
Here's something to think about in regards to that. So something interesting, and this is also in my boot camp. I talk about this as well. Let's take Honey Nut Cheerios, all right? Horrible cereal. So I'm not going to go into all that. But let's take the sugar content for a minute. It's 12 grams of sugar. Well, how much is a serving? So it's 12 grams of sugar per serving. How much is the sugar?
Oh, nice.
I mean, how much is a serving? On the box, it says it's 1 cup. Now, let me ask this question to everybody listening. When was the last time when you went to go pour yourself a bowl of cereal, you measured that freaking thing into 1 cup? Never. We don't do that. Nobody does that. I never did that. What do? We open the box and we pour the freaking thing in the bowl, and sometimes it's heaping. So let me ask this question then. How many grams of sugar do you think is in that bowl if you're just pouring and you're not measuring? I'm willing to bet it's 12 times 3 or 12 times 4.
Yeah. So in the States, they have it per serve, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Australia, we're lucky. They have it per 100 grams. So you can tell the percentage of how much your carbs, your fats, and proteins. All right, so you got to work it out. You got to get a calculator out and figure out the percentages. Whereas for us, they've made it easy. You can figure out. So you'll be hard pressed to find anything under 10% when it comes to a cereal here in Australia. They probably don't have Wheat Bix over there, but here it's about 11, I think, if I remember correct. So it's pretty close, but it's the lowest. And that's why people put what on top of the Wheat Bix? Sugar. Because it tastes like cardboard.
Yeah.
And that's why.
It's probably made from cardboard.
And that's why. Probably, well, you probably know this too, Ken. That's why Mr. Kellogg's, he actually brought out bran flakes. He brought out bran flakes, but he realized it tasted like cardboard. No one wanted to eat it. So then he realized if I changed the wheat to corn, then he could. It tasted a lot better.
No surprise.
So that's why he called it corn flakes.
Yeah, no surprise.
How interesting. And then there's flavor enhancers and MSG and aspartame, right? People think they're having zero sugar, and that's healthy, right? They'll have 3 Big Macs and a Diet Coke, and they'll think that they're taking the healthy option. So what are your thoughts about that, flavor enhancers and aspartame and all those?
Well, there's only one that I have any respect for, and that's
stevia.
Yeah, stevia. But the rest, that they're all linked to cancer, so I wouldn't be having that stuff too soon.
Right.
The other thing is carbonated water. Try and stay away from.
Interesting.
Because it's all acidic. It's very, very acidic.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That makes sense.
It takes a lot of neutral water to bring it back to neutral. It's like, so one glass of lemonade, for instance, even if it's sugar free, it takes about 20 20 glasses of neutral water to bring your pH up. So that's why I don't drink soft drinks anymore, which has been tough because I used to love my bourbon and Cokes.
Is that also for soda water and things like tonic water and things?
It's all very acidic.
Also mineral water as well.
Yeah, if they carbonate it, yes.
Wow.
My carbohydrate, my chiropractic doctor, I told him that we have reverse osmosis water here, and he told me that that's more on the acidic end. And so I said, okay, well, how do I balance that out? Because he was trying to sell me on his water machine, and I'm not a big fan on these big old expensive water machines with expensive filters. Especially for some of my clients that come across, I'm looking for cost-effective solutions so that they're not getting fluoride, they're not getting chlorine, they're not getting all the other things that are added in the water. Reverse osmosis system is the greatest way. So, I asked him then, I said, okay, what hacks can I do to my water then to help kind of like balance it? One of the things, and I've started doing it, and I've actually gotten used to it. So, it's not a big deal to me anymore. In the beginning, I was kind of like, okay, this is going to take a while to get used to. But apple cider vinegar. Organic apple cider vinegar. Yes. Add a couple capfuls of that will balance out the acidity of your water. Plus, in addition to that, electrolytes. So that reverse osmosis water has no electrolytes in it. And so I need to find a way to get electrolytes. So how do I do that? Well, you can do it two ways. The highest and best way you can do it is by Celtic or Celtic sea salt. The second best way you can do it is through pink Himalayan sea salt. Ugh, tongue-tied.
Himalayan sea salt. Yeah.
And so I put both of those in my water that I take to the gym. I put, the apple cider vinegar. Now I don't put enough in there to like really gag myself, but I can tell the difference. And there are times where it tastes a little bit more like kombucha than anything else, which I'm fine with. I used to make kombucha. So, those are some water hacks. So first of all, get a decent filtering system. Don't buy into the Brita or Pure water systems, or those are crap, people. If you notice on the box, they don't tell you the percentage of what they take out of the water. And since they don't tell you the percentage, it's very low. And there's actually been tests done on the water that comes out of those systems, and it's nil and void. It's useless. You're just wasting your money. You can actually go on Amazon. You can find an actual countertop. So not one that goes under your sink, not one that you have to drill a hole for or all that stuff. A countertop reverse osmosis system that's only $149. Took me 10 minutes to hook up. It sits on my countertop. It's got a spout that comes out of one of the last filters. Easy, simple, cost-effective. The filters for it, the replacements, they aren't that much. So first of all, get yourself some good filtered water and then start adding in some Celtic sea salt for it. You can also find that on Amazon, and add in organic apple cider vinegar.
Can I give now that you mentioned apple cider vinegar, I want to give a little tip actually. So if you're a type 2 diabetic and you're taking medication, apple cider vinegar, just half a cap before your meal, each meal, I guarantee in a couple of weeks, you're going to be off that meds.
Ooh, I'm going to write that one down too.
Wow. Just half a cap.
I didn't believe it. And then I had a patient that came to me and said, yeah, I have apple cider vinegar before each meal. Just a little bit.
Half a cap, as in just a small, tiny amount.
Yeah, because they come in a bottle.
Yeah,
yeah. Just half a cap. Doesn't taste very nice.
Just a little swig of apple cider vinegar. Amazing.
Yeah,
that is very cool.
Blood sugar. It'll bring your blood sugar levels down straight away.
Amazing.
And it levels it out. I was very skeptical, and then when we started doing the tests, I was like, wow.
And that helps to get you off of what medicine?
Type 2 meds.
Type 2. Okay, diabetes.
Amazing. I've heard of a lot of people saying they have apple cider vinegar, and also hot water or warm water with lemon juice in the morning apparently is very good as well.
Well, lemon juice. Yeah, yes, it doesn't affect your blood sugar levels, but it will. It just makes water taste nice for me.
Okay. I heard it.
It doesn't.
I heard it.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's a acidic sea, so it. Well, it's a citrus.
I heard it was good for digestion.
Not really. Not really.
Okay. Interesting.
All
right.
The peel, yes. The peel, yes.
Okay. If it's not sprayed with chemicals.
Yeah, the same with the oranges. It peels. We use that in Chinese medicine for stomach issues.
Organic wherever possible, right?
So so what they do is any of your orange peels, just put them on the sill of your kitchen, put it in the sun, let it dry out, and then every now and then you can peel off a bit and throw it in your cooking. That's how they used to do it traditionally. So
fascinating.
Yeah, so they use that to if you're getting gas, bloating, or cramping in the stomach, that's what they'd have. They put some, just to prevent it, they'd use some orange peel to prevent the stomach issues. But yeah, the peel from the lemon, yes, definitely, it will help.
Yeah, fascinating. I remember going to a Don Tolman event about 15 years ago, who was all about whole food eating, and he was talking about how walnuts look like the brain and they're good for the brain. He was talking about celery is good for your bones, carrots are good for your eyes, and the end of the carrot looks like your eye. He said the tomatoes are good for our heart. They've got like 4 chambers like the heart, and then avocado is good for reproductive system. And it's interesting that nature has all these clues of what is good for our body, right? And it's there in front of us, and yet we've become so consumed by the food industry. Yes,
I'll give you another little tip. So corn.
Yes.
When you peel the corn off the cob, and you got that fray, that like that hairy stuff. I can't remember there is a name for it. If you've got any urinary tract infections, or you're urinating too much, put that into a pot, cover it with water, boil it, bring it to a boil, simmer it for 20 minutes, and then drink the juice.
Wow.
Watch. That's Chinese medicine.
That's amazing. Yeah, thank you for that. It's, so much in nature.
If you don't want to take meds, there's so many. There's so many things you can use. You gotta remember, this is a 2,000-year-old medicine. It's probably even older, but we've got records back to 2,000 years. So, and like I say, this is the emperor's medicine. So you had to get a result. If you did get a result, you lost your head. So
amazing. Gosh, we could talk about this topic all day. I do want to quickly touch on some of the habits of longevity, or some of the things that led to longevity for people in the blue zones. Now, just quickly before we wrap up. Now, for those who haven't heard of the blue zones, these are regions of the world where consistently people in these areas live to 100 years of age and beyond. Some of these blue zone areas are places like Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Icaria in Greece, and Loma Linda in California. And some of the key factors and things that these people did in these areas is, with their diet, they focused on plant-based foods, including vegetables, fruits, and grains, with limited meat consumption. They did physical activity in daily life. They did walking or gardening rather than structured exercise. So the movement that they did were things that they enjoyed, or they were productive things like gardening, or moving things around the farm, or whatever it was. Social connections also really important. Social connections, strong community ties, and a sense of purpose. And this is where your environment is so crucial when it comes to healthy habits. What kind of people you're hanging out with? You hang out with people that lift your energy or people that drain your energy? People who are trying to put you down or who want to lift you up. Be very, very mindful of that and make a choice. Make a choice. Who do you want to hang out with? You want to hang out with all the people that want to have a pity party all day and be victims of everything going on in their life, or do you want to hang out with people who are actually creating lives that they love? So social connections, low stress levels. We talked about this, practicing things like mindfulness, prayer, spending time in nature. That's another very important one. And then limited overeating. They actually stopped eating when they were 80% full as well. And now all of these things we've touched on, these blue zone habits, these healthy habits of the blue zone people. Is there anything else you want to add to that before we start to wrap up, Scott?
This is only a joke, okay? It's just a joke.
Yes.
They mustn't have done the studies in Tasmania because they've got the best soil and the cleanest water I've ever come across. I've been all over Australia and other countries, but they have the cleanest water I've ever tasted, and their food is just wow, next level. But it must be just the people, huh? I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
Tasmania is amazing.
There was something else that you didn't really mention, is that the communities there are really, they intertwine with each other very well. So what do I mean by that? They had like community gardens, so everyone could come in and clean. See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of interaction with each other.
Yes,
and everyone knows each other.
Yes,
that's one thing that I did watch that documentary. They did actually point out that there was strong community connections, and I think that's very important too. It's about your relationships as well.
Yes,
and science is starting to catch up with that. Science is starting to catch up with that. They're starting to realize.
Yeah,
I'll give you a good example. Taiwan, they actually because they don't have much farmland, they realized that how are we going to grow our own food? So what they did was all the buildings, all the residents of those buildings, they all have to maintain a garden on top of the roof.
Great.
So then you can go up and eat whatever you want, as long as you go and maintain the garden.
Great. I love that idea. And of course, farming is another area that has been persecuted by governments. How interesting, right? And that's a whole other topic. But look up Food Inc. Look at the documentary Food Inc., which actually came out a lot of years ago. I think it came out 2008. We've actually got it featured in the Conscious Community Global Facebook group. Food Inc. is a big eye opener. Definitely see that. All right, we do need to wrap up. So, Dr. Scott, how can people work with you and connect with you?
Well, like I said, I've got my online health club. You can join that. There's 3 levels. You've got your bronze, your silver, and gold. And as I talked about, there's 9 modules that you can do. The silver, actually, you get access to a webinar that I do each week. This week I'm doing it on, next week I'm doing it on headaches and migraine.
Oh, good.
And also I've got the Healthy Habits Club, and that's basically about healthy habits to lose weight. So it's a 10-week detox challenge. So you can do that online as well. So that's all accessible anywhere in the world. So acupuncture, obviously I'm demographically challenged. I can only do that to people that are in the southeast corner of Queensland, sorry. So I service from the Sunshine Coast to the Gold Coast. That's right down to you, Aldwyn.
Yes.
But also I'm a herbalist. So I'm a Chinese herbalist. So I have international clients that I can mail those herbs to overseas. And they're, acupuncture is great for pain, and herbal medicine is really good for the internal organ issues. So I just gave you a couple of tips. So that they're Western herbs. So these are Chinese herbs. So there's, obviously they're grown in China, but they're processed in Taiwan, and I use them as a granule. So it's like a powder. So I can consume it easy. I get my patients to have it with a protein sup, whether it be plant-based or whey-based. The reason being because they don't taste very nice. They taste terrible. But if you have it with a protein sup, You can choose your flavor. It makes the taste a lot better. So yeah, I've helped a lot of people, with high blood pressure, kidney stones, gallstones, valve issues in the heart, mitral valve leakages, and aortic valve stenosis. It just means the valve's not closing and opening properly. That's all it means. And there's so many conditions I've helped with patients with. And yeah, so that's, you got it there. There you go, www.sixsenseacupuncture.com.au. Go to the contact us. I actually have a 30-minute free consultation you can have with me online. And also what sets me apart from other acupuncturists and Chinese herbalists is I feel the radial artery, and that radial artery tells me what's going on internally, like I talked about earlier. But the problem with that is I can't do it over telehealth. Unfortunately, I have to do it in person. So.
Yes, amazing. Right. And you're brilliant at what you do. Now, do you have a favorite quote or motto to share with us today?
Well, basically, it's very simple. Be as kind as you can be to yourself. Because if you're kind to yourself, you're going to be kind to others.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And Ken, how can people connect with you?
All right, you guys. Well, I'm sure you realize that I am definitely a health coach as well, but I'm a weight loss coach, and Mastery Weight Loss is my brand. So it's not weight loss, it's Mastery Weight Loss. That's the difference. And trust me, there is a big difference there. I've lost 62.5 pounds, and I've kept it off for 7+ years now, all without a diet and having that be sustainable. Right now, I'm giving away my 3 secrets to help you lose weight, feel energized, get healthy without starving yourself or dieting. In just 3 powerful sessions with me in my mini educational bootcamp series, I expose the biggest lies keeping people stuck, and I show them how to fuel their body God's way so that they can break free and keep the weight off for life, just like I've been able to do. So, to join that bootcamp, you can click on the link that Aldwyn is showing right there on the screen. It's www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. And on that connect page, right at the very first button on that page is going to be the link to join that mini educational bootcamp. It's very reasonably priced. You won't be disappointed. You've got nothing to lose but those extra pounds, and you've got everything to gain in the right way, you guys. And then there's 3 other links or buttons in there on how you can connect with me. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's 1. You can connect with me here on Facebook. That's 2, if you're watching on Facebook. You can also book a free strategy call with me. So maybe you got some questions and maybe you want, some help with those questions. Book a free strategy call. It's free. You've also got nothing to lose there as well. So that's how you can connect with me. www.mastery, MASTERY, weightloss.com/connect. And beautiful. My quote. So it's kind of more of a creative quote. And it's definitely something that I would say, so you can consider this from my own mouth. It's my own quote. You don't need perfect habits. You need powerful ones, sustainable ones, truth-based ones. And that's what creates mastery.
Beautiful, Ken. Thank you. Love what you do as well. And I can totally vouch for your boot camp. It is awesome. And for those who want to connect with me, just hop along to linktree/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. That's my YouTube channel right there. I recommend subscribe. There's lots of great inspiring content on there. And you'll also find all of my social links on there. You'll find the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page for those who want to get into gratitude, shift their energy. And this is a wonderful, healthy habit, is to get into gratitude. So I recommend check out the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. All the details are at the top of the page. It's a free monthly challenge. I'm doing my May one right now, 5-day challenge for May, being the 5th month. A very simple live video challenge. All the details are there. Check it out. Also, if it's time for you to be seen, heard, and known, to make a bigger difference in the world, then reach out as well. Send me a message on any of my social media there that you'll see linked in my Linktree/Aldwyn. I have a mass media mastery training program, and also we do PR for people as well. We do press releases and get you out to be seen, heard, known, and to make a bigger difference in the world. All right. And I've actually got 2 quotes today that I really love. One is from Jim Rohn. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. I love that one. And this one's from Jack Canfield. Successful people maintain a positive focus in life, no matter what is going on around them. They stay focused on their past successes rather than their past failures, and on the next action steps they need to take to get them closer to the fulfillment of their goals, rather than all the other distractions that life presents to them. And life is going to throw you some curveballs. You will be challenged in life. And to have healthy habits is absolutely crucial to be able to navigate life's challenges, to deal with the ups and downs and the roller coaster ride of life. Thank you so much for joining us here today on Total Truth Show. It's been an awesome episode. Thank you, Scott Fox. So great having you as our guest. We love chatting with you. And thank you for interviewing me on your Get Busy Living podcast yesterday as well. It has been episode 103, and we've been chatting about the truth about healthy habits. Anything finally either of you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I think we've said quite a lot.
I've got heaps to say, but Ken, if you'd like to come on my podcast as well, that'd be great. Come back on again.
Absolutely. Yes, I was about to say, oh yeah, that's right. Scott has a podcast. I gotta get in touch with you, my friend. So I will definitely be in touch.
Yes, and be generous. Be generous, and see how this is how the law of reciprocity works. You see, it's a win-win scenario. We interview each other on each other's shows if there's an alignment. And it was awesome being on your show, Scott, yesterday. And I want to thank everyone who's joined us today on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you're joining us. We also go on Spotify, Rumble, BitChute. You'll find some of our censored content that was taken off YouTube. You'll find it over there at Rumble and BitChute, including my 2016 interview with David Icke, I realized was taken off YouTube. How interesting. And other interviews and things that I have there around mask wearing and other amazing content. The dangers of mask wearing, that one got taken down as well. And a lot of censorship there has been on YouTube. So as much as I love YouTube, thank goodness for the other social media platforms. So let's connect, stay connected. If you've enjoyed what you've seen today, share the love. Let us know, what did you get out of today's episode? And we will see you again very soon with another amazing guest for episode 104 coming up next week. Much love to you all. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are. See you next time. Bye.